Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Satsang. And it's a beautiful day for Satsang, don't you think? No matter what is going on in your life, no matter how trying or difficult it might be, no matter what the weather is, or the state of the world, the state of the economy, the state of anything, it's always a good moment for Satsang once you understand what it actually is. The moment you bring your attention away from whatever is going on in your life and away from all of the mind's narrations and stories and ideas about what's going on in your life, none of which are true, by the way. Just the willingness and the intention to do that, to look for that place inside of you that was there before any conditions occurred and will be there after any conditions disappear, and they all do. You're in satsang. You are communing with the truth of your being. You are associating with the truth. Now, we give the name satsang to a setting like this, where the teacher sits up here and goes on about stuff, answers questions. And that's just one form of it. In fact, if you came here looking for knowledge, for spiritual knowledge or a knowledge of how to manifest the life of your dreams or improve your life in some way, if you came looking for any kind of knowledge whatsoever, you've come to a self-help course and not satsang. Satsang is not a means to an end. It's not the way in which we improve our lives. It does not serve any objective other than itself, other than the truth. So when you're truly coming into a setting in which you want to know more than anything else who you are in satsang. And that's the deep meaning of it. So you can see it can happen here at 3 o'clock Eastern on YouTube, but it can happen anytime, any moment during any day, no matter what the circumstances are. And this is the key. The practice, the learning, you might say, is simply the willingness to turn away from everything that's going on in your life. And that may seem hard. There may be a lot of challenges. The whole world's going through some significant challenges on many different levels. Much of what we trusted and believed in is collapsing around us. And so everyone is kind of in the same boat at this point. But if you're willing to turn your attention away from all of that, whether the problems, the circumstances, the difficulties appear to be personal, difficult, even long-standing, or if they appear to be universal, societal, systemic. If you're willing to bring your attention away from our almost obsessive engagement with those things, not almost, it is obsessive engagement with those things, to look for something inside of you. You are deep in the heart of satsang. This is what it's for. This is what, these couple hours on a Sunday afternoon represent. They're simply the way in which you learn how to do that consistently all the time for yourself. Because while you may come seeking answers to life's questions and life's issues, I see you as the answer. You are the answer. It's not something you learn, something you know. It's something innate and indescribable and indestructible that lies at the soul of every single being there is. That sense, I am. Now, to the mind, to our normal way of thinking, engaged with all the activity that's going on, a simple acknowledgement and being present with the fact that you are is not the least bit interesting, right? There's no drama there. There's no Hollywood spectacle. There's no special effects, right? It's just this very quiet recognition of an extraordinary thing, and that is you are, and you are consciously aware of it. And if we could just take that to heart, right, to appreciate the magnitude of it. But there will be inevitably an enormous amount of resistance to it. Why? Because in that being present with the simple recognition of the fact of your existence puts an end to the mind. It puts an end to struggle. It puts an end to difficulties. It puts an end to problems to solve. Because your mind is a problem solver. That's what it does. And it wants to always be solving problems. So if it doesn't have one, it'll make one. From your earliest time in your life, the earliest time in your life, something inside of us said something's wrong. Now, there's actually a bit of truth in that, because in that initial sense of separation where you got disconnected from your soul, and this sense of being a separate being identified with the body emerged, something inside you knew this was off, this was inaccurate. But that feeling of it being off and inaccurate, because of the identification with the body, the minds which began to come online started looking around as to what was wrong here. It didn't suspect that the problem was this identification with the body mind. So the mind sets out finding all the reasons why this is wrong. And of course, it makes up the circumstance. So it creates a story to try to explain this feeling, which it can't possibly explain, because only an awakened consciousness can grasp this. And then sitting there with this particular narration as to why things aren't the way they should be, right? There's something wrong with right now. It spends its entire life and every moment it can trying to figure out how to make it better, coming up with a strategy to fix all the things that it imagines is wrong. Look, is that not your life? Is that not what we've all been doing all the time? Even seeking enlightenment, as noble as it is, right? You get to a certain point and you realize that even that is the mind simply attaching now to something else that's going to fix all the problems. True enlightenment is the recognition that there never were any. The mind invented the problems, and the only thing that happened was I identified with my body and forgot who I really am. And now we turn around and we start walking back. We start walking back, going back the way we came, just through all of the layers of mind and programmed responses and conditionings, to that place in you that is the original innocence, your original purity, that which was never actually touched by any of this. Like water and pollution, if you look at it at the molecular level, the water and the pollution aren't even touching. They haven't bonded, they haven't become one. The water has not become contaminated. Only from our perspective of up here, where they seem to be mixed together, does it appear as though the water is contaminated. It isn't. And if you separate the two, you find exactly the same original pure water that's been there the whole time, untouched by the pollution. Satsang is where you learn how to separate these two. to see what is you and what isn't you. And you discover that you are now and always have been that pure H2O, untouched, uncontaminated, unfouled, untainted, nothing lost, needing nothing. You are the answer. You, not who you think you are, right? Who you think you are is the seeker of answers. Right? Who you really are is the answer itself. So who are you, really? This is what we're here to explore. Who are you, really? And in order to do that, we have to step outside of all thinking, the flow of thoughts. We have to step outside of the conditioning. We have to recognize what are conditioned patterns in the nervous system and what is it that's aware of those conditioned patterns. So you're not your body, which is you're not the sensations. Sensations you're just experiencing. They come and go. In fact, eventually you'll see the body doesn't exist at all. There's only modulations of consciousness. You're not your emotions, which are always reactive patterns to circumstances based on predefined programmed responses. And you're not your thinking, which is simply a relentless storyteller making up fictions and believing them simultaneously. Oh, that's it. That's the truth. And then because these beliefs, these stories get so aground so quickly and so solidly, they literally shape the perception so it appears as if the story's actually true. It feels as if you really are this limited, finite, struggling mortal being, this little shivering thing in the midst of this big hostile universe. It feels as if that's actually true. It will shape that experience. Satsang cuts through that to show it isn't true. It's a creation of the mind, but the mind is so powerful that it shapes our perceptions to the point where the convictions, these underlying assumptions of the mind, appear to be true. They're not. And there's this step in spiritual development when you recognize that the reality of you cannot be known through the mind, through experience, through its stories, because the experience you're having is a result of the beliefs that have been there. And just that first insight that I'm not that I'm something much more, isn't enough to immediately switch all the evidence to convert it. So you'll find yourself in this position of what is basically faith. Right? Faith is the seeing of things that can't be seen. It's the perceiving of a reality beyond what the senses can perceive. You perceive the reality of your being, even though in your life there's absolutely no evidence to support it. That's the deep kind of conviction. That's amazing grace. How sweet the sound. Oh, I've gone on enough. Let me take a sip of tea. Actually, it's mate today, for those of you South America or who recognize this. Let's go back and say hello to people. I got the computer set up in front today because last time I spent too much time looking to the side. So I got it set up and low enough that it's not appearing on the screen. I can see it. It's kind of like a teleprompter, or like if you ever done a speaking thing, they have a little thing down there to let you know how much time you got. Speed it up, speed it up. Roberto, GP and everyone from Madrid. Rosario, also from Madrid. Snezalea from Serbia. Hello, hello, ma'am. David and Elaine from snow-covered, cold, but beautiful southeast England. I do miss the snow, I have to say. I do miss the snow. Ava, namaste from Poland. Sue from South Africa. Can't wait, 2 minutes to go. Roberto, last few days I felt even more dysfunctional, dumb, guilt, obsessed, lack of energy, stopping the flow of money, a mouse in a labyrinth, trying to find a way out. You're not the mouse in the labyrinth. That's the way out. As long as you see yourself as a mouse in the labyrinth, there'll be no way out. Right? The labyrinth was created by your mind and it doesn't exist. This is the insight, right? Turn your attention away from those feelings. The thing that has to break in you, the thing that has to just kind of click, is that you're still trying to get rid of these feelings. You won't embrace them. You're trying to get out of them. And what's the labyrinth? All these feelings that you're having that have built up over time. They're unhandled traumas, they're disappointments that were never processed, they were losses that were never grieved, right? And now they've compounded as a bunch of feelings. And you're trying to get out of the feelings. Well, trying to get out of the feelings is what created it in the first place, this unwillingness to feel it. Feel it. Feel it, even if it kills you, right? Make freedom more important than feeling good. This is not feel good, right? Satsang is not about feel good. I don't teach feel good. I do actually have a video, some videos out there, just feel good. And I'm actually thinking about taking all that stuff down because, as usual, they're misinterpreted. People come to me thinking that they're going to hear the way in which they can manifest their dream life. And I don't give them anything like that. And they get a bit disappointed, even a little bit nasty sometimes. Fine. I should probably take that stuff down. It isn't about feeling good. It's about being you and knowing yourself as you are when the feelings are good and when the feelings are bad. A complete independence from the up and downs of feelings. Has any feeling you've ever had in your life stayed? Is it still here? The great joy, right? The thrill, the first kiss, that big promotion, that job you landed, or that client you signed. Right? Are any of those feelings still here? They all go. We cannot build a life of perpetual happiness on the sands of constant change. Nothing stays. No thought, no feeling, no sensation. They don't hang around. And you'll look around and you will see that the whole world, especially the spiritual or the personal development, self-help community, and a lot of the spiritual community, is hell-bent on trying to make it always feel good. I always want to feel good. Trying to do everything they can to manipulate the system to always feeling good, thinking that now my vibration is high, all these wonderful things are going to come to me. It's this belief that somehow I can manipulate reality into conforming to my will. It's actually quite arrogant, and it feeds the ego. Because all those desires for perpetually feeling good is the ego. Because it doesn't want to feel bad. I don't want to feel bad. I don't feel bad. Please, none of these thoughts. Well, if I'm running away from these thoughts, who has more power, me or the thoughts? Right? You're literally a slave to those thoughts that you run away from. Because they don't go anywhere. You run away. Where are they? Right here. They run with you. You run away and you look and you turn around and go, hi. And they're right there, right in your face. This is the habit that has to be broken, and it draws you in and it sucks you in every time you think this is about getting rid of those feelings. It isn't. What if those feelings were with you for the rest of your life? The feeling of dysfunction, of obsessed lack of energy, stopping the flow of money. What if those feelings were there for the rest of your life? There was no way to get rid of them. This was your karma. The lords of karma had deemed it. You are going to feel like this all the time. Well, first off, it isn't all the time. They come and go. At least when you're in deep sleep at night, they're not there, right? Maybe you're not getting to enjoy it, but in deep sleep or in some dream or some event or something, I don't know, a couple glasses of wine, you're not feeling it, right? So they're not there all the time. But what if they were, right? What if there was no way you could possibly get rid of them? And you simply had to resign yourself, to just completely surrender to this moment as it is. what would happen? That's freedom. Total surrender to what is. Whatever feeling is here, feel it. And you can notice how your nervous system rejects it, wants to run away. All the habits you've put in place to distract yourself, to reframe it, to transcend it, to do anything but feel it. And yet here it is. I don't want to feel you, but there it is. And the fact of the matter is, it's already there. You're already feeling it, right? It's actually quite self-deceptive to say, I don't want to feel it. You already are. Matter of fact, you wouldn't say, I don't want to feel it unless you already were. So something in you has already let this feeling in. That something doesn't have a problem with the feeling. It's just another feeling that comes and goes. And the less significance you give it, the less importance you give it, you're not giving it any energy or attention. You're not creating a relationship with it. And therefore, it doesn't get any fresh energy. It eventually will go. But I even hesitate to say that because your mind will grab on. Oh, okay, if I just allow it to be there, then it'll go away. It isn't a business deal. It's not a con job. You can't trick it into going away. If there's even the tiniest little bit of resistance, that resistance will just be like a magnet. Hello, here we are. This is the path everybody has to walk. And believe me, I have had times in my life when those feelings went on for years. My whole first marriage. It was just this endless, one thing after another. Right? It got better at a certain point in, but there was a time. Everything was a struggle. Everything was a struggle. I just could find my way out of anything. And this is after this deep spiritual experience. On one hand, I'm talking to God. On the other hand, my whole life is an absolute disaster. Just one horrible feeling after another. So I know what I'm talking about here. I'm not making this stuff up. It is such, you'll know when you're truly in the yoga of allowing, when you can honestly say to any feeling that's there, it doesn't matter to me if I'm feeling this for the rest of my life. I totally allow it to be there. When you truly allow, you have no idea what's going to happen. You just don't know the feeling that is. It is such a relief that the feeling doesn't matter anymore. You're in a place of peace and equanimity, and you are free from dependence upon emotions and thoughts and sensations. You're discovering who you really are, which is the nature of peace itself. You're defining that you are the answer. Thank you, Roberto. As always, you're such a joy. Liza, howdy to you. G, hello Jay in Sacramento. Satsang is my Super Bowl Sunday. Oh, that's right. Today's Super Bowl Sunday, isn't it? I don't even any idea. I don't even know who's playing. Hey, here's Crispin in Lucerne. Hello, Crispin. So good to see you. Do I owe you an answer to a question? You emailed me about something. I can't remember whether I answered or not. Hello to Mary Sykes. Hello, Coco, Australia. John Sheehan in cold, crisp Ireland. It's cold everywhere. It's actually nice here. It's about 50. Robert Dosa. Hello, sir. Roberto, I only know that I know nothing. And that's all you need to know, because that's the only truth. All knowledge is transient and temporary. Right? So all knowledge is like everything else. It comes and goes. Right? Holding on to somebody, oh, this is it. This is the truth. Oof, big mistake. Hello, GP and everyone from Wisconsin. Hello, Marlo. Hello, Penny. In British Columbia. Roberto, I don't know what I'm looking for or need. Good. then why do you think you need to get rid of these feelings? You don't know what you're looking for. You don't know what you need. You have no clue, right? That scares you, right? I want to be able to function in everyday life, and I guess I'm taking a longer detour. No, you're trying to get rid of the feelings. Is it getting to know who I am? Yes, get to know who you are. Who you are can only be known when you stop fighting with the feelings. When you stop fighting with the feelings, your attention naturally falls inward. You're not worried about them. Who am I? That has to become more important than the effect that knowing who you are might have. People seek heaven, right? They love God because they're going to get this reward of heaven, this wonderful place, right? What if there was no such reward, this special place where everything's going to be all right? You know, you're going to have a beautiful 25-year-old body again, right? Plus all this wisdom, and get to be with all these magnificent beings. It's wonderful. What if none of that was true? And yet God was. What we want is heaven. We don't want God. We want God because he gives us heaven. This is most people's religion, right? They want the reward, right? But God says, you don't get any of that, but I'm the truth. You want to know me? This is the truth, you know? And the truth will set you free. And you're still going to have all sorts of these experiences. People wouldn't sign up for that. Well, then you're not God. Can I speak to somebody else, please? Can I speak to your manager? I mean, you could see what happens. We're looking for the fruit and we don't want the tree. We really don't want God. We want the gifts God brings, right? We don't want to know who we are. We want to experience what we think we're going to experience when we know who we are. Because he says, oh, these enlightened guys, they're full of bliss and love and compassion. I want that. And so they think that what it is a state in which there's always this feeling of bliss and love and compassion. It isn't. It is a complete and total embrace of human life as it is. All its ups and downs, all its sneezes and coughs, all its losses and its gains, all its temporary successes and almost perpetual failures. It's a complete, oh, great, fine, no problem. It's equanimity, but it's not an equanimity that's even dismissive. It doesn't even feel content all the time. It recognizes I lose something, I feel grief, and then you feel the grief. It's that kind of a seeking the truth for the truth's sake, not for the boon or the blessing or the special reward you think you're going to get when you find it. This is true religion. This is true worship. This is the true seeking of God. Anything else is an idol. Anything else is idolatry. Right? To seek God, the truth of being as it is, for itself and for nothing else. Everything else is idolatry. I got to watch myself. I'm going to knock my tea over. Danielle says, yes, where are answers? Amen, sister. Ava said, this is the beauty of satsang. No so-called purpose, mundane purpose, just being with truth without an agenda. Yes. Isn't it great? Winter snowstorm in northern Germany. Greetings to all. Hi, Hanja. Dale Wiggins in another, come on, where'd you go? There. Winter Wonderland of Massachusetts. Wow, is it snowing all over the place? I guess it is. Well, probably not in Miami. Sarah Sands. Hi, G, spiritual family. Sarah in France. What's the difference between Nirguna Bhakti, not Saguna, and Advaita Vedanta? Nirakalpa Samadhi, I get these terms all mixed up. Let me see if I can grasp it. The ultimate ambition of the bhakti. For those of you who don't know what bhakti is, it's one of the yogas. It's a path of devotion. Right? It's really the religious path. It is the worship of your deity. That can be a guru. It can be a god. It can be the one true God, if that's the way you think of it. It can be a personalized God, like Hare Krishna, and believe that Krishna is actually the personality of God. Doesn't matter what it is, right? The object of the bhakti is complete and total devotion, complete and total surrender to the object of its devotion. And if it's truly engaged in, right, it is a complete sacrifice of everything you believe. It's no longer my will, it's thy will be done. Every feeling, every thought, every action, everything is brought into conformance with this. It's a seeking of God, use me, Lord, replace me with you. I want no feeling that isn't yours, right? It's thy will, not mine, be done. And it brings the aspirant as close to God as you can possibly get. But therein lies the rub. As close as you can get. Infinitely close, but not one. To the bhakti, to the religious, to the devotional, becoming one with God is blasphemy. Service to God, complete worship of God, complete surrender to God, okay. But one with God, blasphemy. Can't do that. There's always a subtle two there. The ultimate last step of the bhakti would be to surrender themselves. Any kind of distance whatsoever until there was only God, like the moth becoming one with the flame. It's completely fascinated, in love with the flame. But to truly to truly experience the flame, it has to become one with it. And what happens when that happens? There's no more moth. That dissolution of the sense of self into the oneness is Advaita Vedanta, where the sense of any separation is lost for good. The bhakti can't really take it all the way. But now the one who's just in Advaita Vedanta but doesn't have that spirit of devotion, which is the heart center that is willing to surrender, that one will struggle as well. It'll tend to stay too much in the head. So I find that both of these are actually absolutely necessary. Not my will, but thine be done, until you find that there is no will but thy will. There's no you. There's only that will. And that's the ultimate dissolution. The Mississippi seeks the Gulf of Mexico, and the Gulf of Mexico seeks the ocean. When the Mississippi goes into the Gulf of Mexico, it's not the Mississippi anymore. Mississippi is gone. Where did it go? Did it die? No. Where did it go? It's gone. It is one with the Gulf. And when the Gulf merges into the ocean, where's the Gulf? It's gone. There's just the ocean. This is the nature of the ultimate attainment. You disappear. You are no more. And the only thing left is God, is what was for the seeking the object of one's devotion. But that devotion becomes so absolute that there's not even a you left. And it's actually happening all along the way. Every time there's a surrender to the divine will in devotion, part of you is gone, right? You're not seeking your own will. You're not trying to be this or that. You're not trying to accomplish anything. You only want to do, be, think, and feel what God is, thinks, does, and feels. And ultimately what happens? The moth becomes one with the flame. It is the flame. That's the culmination of it. That's the culmination of oneness. Even we have a taste of it in a genuinely intimate relationship. There's just this disappearance of the one into the other. It's the nature of Tantra, by the way. So I hope that answers your question, Sarah. Faith. Hey, my sheik, how are you doing? Imaine from Algeria. Just fine. Just fine. So happy to be here with you all. Andrea, hello to you. Daryl. So at best, we're deceived by the absolute. We're deceived by the absolute as an idea, but the absolute is pure being that has no opposite. It's one without a second, which is why it's incomparable, which is why it can't be described. Because all of language, the descriptive language, is defining one thing in terms of another. So you have to have a couple objects there in order to say, short. There's no short unless there's a tall. There's no smart unless there's a dumb. There's no pretty unless there's a homely, right? So you have to have those. But what do you have with the absolute that has no opposite? What do you do with the infinite? How do you describe it? You can't. That's what makes it absolute. So the absolute is the reality that cannot be described. But our ideas about the absolute, right, unless they are pointers to the actual absolute beyond all language and description and thought, can be quite deceptive. People can say they grasp the absolute. Oh yes, pure consciousness, but it's still just a concept. And you can tell, you can smell it. Yeah. Concept. You can just tell. You can. There's an energy that's missing, right? When it's more than a concept, there's an authority there. There's some power. There's love. You feel something, right? When it's just conceptual, it leaves you kind of flat. Even if it's brilliant, right? It still leaves you kind of flat. So yes. Let's see. Marlo, I love your background, GP. I meant to tell you that the other day too. Thank you. You like this? All my greenery, my little garden back there. I'm not very good at growing things, and there's not a lot of light in here, so I don't know what I can grow. Any experts on indoor plants that thrive on neglect and low light? I need to know about them because I love having the plants around. But yeah, I got myself a new lens that has a much lower aperture. The aperture can get bigger, which allows for the blurry background and a better focal distance and the like. So I'm really liking this particular setup. It's very comfortable. I got my tea over here. I got the computer in front of me, so I'm happy. Robert is from Romania. I didn't realize that, Robert. Wonderful. Charles Ed, so we are just the knowing. That is beautiful. Yes, we are the knowing itself. Just try to follow along with this because it's conceptually it's kind of difficult. But if you just kind of feel into it and look at your own experience, everything you experience, right? There's a you there that is knowing it. There's the consciousness is another word for it, conscious of it, right? Now, in our minds, we think that, that there's something, body, form, character, person, that is knowing this. But when you really look inward deeply, you find that all of the things that made up this body and the person and the concept you had of who you are also being known. Something is knowing them. Every thought, every feeling, every impulse, every attribute, every quality doesn't exist independent of the knowing of it, does it? Does beauty exist independent of the knowing of beauty? Does light exist independent of the knowing of the light? We imagine it. Oh yeah, well, light was there, and then we came later and knew it. But who's there to verify that? What is light like without you there to see it? Without consciousness, what is existence? Consciousness is existence. The existence of everything comes from consciousness. Now, the hard thing to grasp is consciousness or a knowingness that is existence itself. Sat Chit Ananda, being, consciousness, bliss. Being and consciousness are one. So there's not something that exists of which knowing is an attribute or a function. Knowing is self-existent. This is what it means of consciousness only as the model, true model of the universe, as opposed to matter, which requires these forms. The knowing is what you are. And you can just prove it because everything else is known by it without that knowingness, right? Everything else is, well, I'm a man or I'm a woman. Well, that's a set of qualities that are known by something. Is that knowing a man or a woman? Or is the man and woman just something that is known? This is very, very subtle. Okay? And it kind of whizzes by a lot of people. Okay? Being and knowing are one. You can't separate them. You are not something that knows. You are knowingness itself. That means you are formless, you are boundless, there's no limit on what can be known. You're infinite, you have no beginning, you have no end. Because the beginning and end would be known. They too, space, time, they are known by this transcendent, dimensionless knowingness. Now the struggle, because the mind is looking for an object, right? When you're looking for that awakening, we're trying to have a someone who is awakened. The idea that the awakening is awakeness itself. You are consciousness, pure, absolute consciousness, which is pure, absolute being. And so being just isn't like, a rock or a tree or a mountain or something like that. Consciousness and being is the awareness that is consciousness. Right? Consciousness and being are one and the same. Your knowing of existence is existence. I'm trying to say it in every different way I possibly can, but yes, you are simply the knowing. And everything is a result of your knowing of it. Nothing exists without your knowing of it. Your knowing is what gives everything existence. Everything is made of the knowing of it. This is the true nature of the universe. That is pure consciousness. That is consciousness knowing itself as pure consciousness. And that knowing is what we experience as the forever unfolding universe. Thank you for that, Charles. Daryl, I feel that however it's described, we're puppets deceived to believe that we are not. Well, who's the puppet, right? And who's pulling the strings, right? If you're a puppet, who's pulling the strings? What if you're the one pulling the strings? You're both the puppet and the puppeteer. Now what? The mind is forever deceived, but isn't even the deceived mind being witnessed by something else? How do you even know that you're a puppet and you're being deceived if there isn't something there looking at it from a higher place that sees, oh, look, that's deceived? How does it know it's deceived? There's a sense of truth. There's something that recognizes the deceiving, but there's still enough identification with the puppet and the deception that we go, oh my God, I'm really being deceived. But the recognition that you're being received cannot come from the puppet. The puppet's just, right? The puppet's not even a conscious entity. It can't say, I'm deceived. Right? There's nothing there to say it. Something else is noticing that the mind is constantly deceiving itself. But as long as there's still an identification with thought, you're going to think, I'm being deceived. But the very fact you're saying I'm being deceived implies the already obvious fact. There's something witnessing that deceiving that knows that it's deception. There's a discrimination there. Now, what is that? That can only be a higher truth, something deeper, something more awake. Otherwise, that thought could not ever even present itself. The puppet can't come up with that. The puppet doesn't go, I'm only a puppet. You know, the sheep goes, we don't have to be sheep. I mean, no, they can't do it. Something else has to be there, sitting in a higher place. And it is there. And the very fact that you see it is proof that it's there. But there's still identification with the deceived mind. I encourage you to identify with the intelligence that is aware of that deceiving, knows that it's deceiving, and therefore itself is not deceived. It is quite clear. And isn't that you? Aren't you the one seeing it? Right. So now just say goodbye to all the thoughts that say, I am deceived, and substitute it with, I am that which perceives the deceived mind. And I'm not that mind. And you'll be free. Andrea, hello from North Carolina. Hello to you. Sarah says, Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I read a beautiful translation of that passage in, I think, the Amplified Bible. And it said it like this: faith, and that defined faith as perceiving as real fact that which is invisible to the senses. Faith is not, I believe God's going to do something for me. Faith is a seeing of something that the eye can't see. I see it. It's absolutely true. And you know, every truth you grasp, every aha moment, right? Be it an insignificant one or a major breakthrough where you're seeing God, right? Is seeing something completely separate from the evidence in front of your senses. Because if you just go by the evidence, you're just going to get the same story over and over and over and over and over again, right? So you're perceiving something beyond what the senses can see. This is why it's so critical that in the spiritual journey, you let go of trying to get certain results. You let go of looking for evidence that you're on the right path. The fact that you want to be on the path is the evidence of the path. You are the evidence of faith, not the circumstances around you. You are the evidence that God exists. Nothing out here. Nothing out. And if you look to out here, you're going to find nothing but evidence that there is no God, there is no truth, there is no love, there is no reality. That's all you'll see around you. We have to break that spell. Faith is the very substance of the thing that you're hoping for. You think the thing is going to make you happy. But in fact, the happiness discovered as you in faith is what creates the thing. But now be careful. I have people from the law of attraction go, ooh, okay, so all I have to do is now get that happiness and then I'll get the thing. And you can see it that the mind still believes that the happiness is in the thing. It's just it's a more clever metaphysical way of getting the thing. There is no joy or happiness in anything. There is no life, truth, intelligence in any object. It's all in you. Ignorant that it's in you, you project it on objects, and therefore you seek the object to bring you happiness. Somebody comes along and says, well, you've got to generate the vibration of happiness. And you work on it. You move the needle, hoping that the real source of happiness is going to show up. And therein lies the big illusion of it. The happiness you seek is not in the object. That is the mind. It says, oh, okay, I don't have it. I don't see it. Oh, it's there. Oh, they've got it. Oh, great. That's it. If I get that, then I'll be happy. And you get it. Either you don't get it, you spend a long time just suffering day after day after day, or you do get it, and in that moment you feel happiness. And in our ignorance, we think that the object brought me the happiness. Not true. What actually happened was the fulfillment of that desire momentarily canceled the desire. There's no desire. Right? And in that moment, you felt the happiness that's been there the whole time. But because of your ignorance, you think it was the thing that did that. And then the next desire arises, it covers up the happiness, and we're on the path again. This is Shiva's wheel. Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Kiran says, namaste. Namaste to you. Oh, there he pops ahead again. It's just annoying. Jay, where did you go, Jay? Where did you go, Jay? Jay. I hate it when it does this. Okay. Nope. Who I am remains among all my changing problems. Yes, who you are remains, and you don't have any problems. If you're identified with who you are, there are no problems. Problems are an illusion of the mind. What makes a problem? The mind says, this isn't good. This shouldn't be like this. It's got to be somewhere else. This is a problem. We've got to figure out how to make this be different. That's what creates a problem. There aren't any problems. They don't exist. They're an illusion of the mind. You don't have any problems. There's just life. Spent my whole life selling water, standing by a river. The awakened INFJ. So happy to see you live right here, beloved G. Oh, so good to see you. So good to see you. Sarah Sands says, be sure to like, and I agree. Please give me some likes, some thumbs up, folks. Some shares would be great too. Kansas City and Tampa Bay. Well, now that's a very uninteresting one. Sorry. Just, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Me neither, but I looked it up. Chiefs against the Buccaneers. Chiefs. All right, Kansas City, Tampa. Different names. Okay, got it. Chiefs against the Buccaneers. All right. Kristen said, yes, I sent you a Facebook. Please let me know if we should have a one-on-one session. Thanks. Great. Yeah, it's up to you. I'll try to answer your question, but it'd be great to see you. Peace and blessings from Cape Verde, Africa, from Adelson. Hello, hello, hello. Hendrik, hi, south of Germany. Not snowing there. Well, not snowing in Seattle. Snow in Niagara Falls. David Maloney. Hey, G. Hey, David. I've long observed my tendency to push away negative emotions. I'm seeing more clearly my impulse trying to create positive emotions. It feels good too to let this go too. And oh my God, does it? The fact trying to create positive emotions is like trying to create sunlight, right? I mean, first off, you can't do it, right? We can take our attention off of mind's obsession with problems, and that will make us feel good, right? But that really isn't the answer to the whole thing. Trying to create positive emotions has, of course, there's, that's the yin of it. The yang side of it is trying to get out of negative emotions. So you've created a conflict, right? And in every conflict, both sides arm themselves and dig in for defense. Nobody's going to move, right? If you're in a place of complete and total acceptance, right? Every feeling just moves through you. The good feelings are nice, but you don't hold on to them. The bad feelings are bad, but you're not averse to them. What does that mean? You're free. That's freedom. It's not freedom from anything, right? It's just freedom. It's freedom to let life be exactly what it is. No complaints, no issues, no argument. This is what life is. This is what I'm feeling now. This is what I'm feeling now. This is what I'm feeling now. I'm hungry. I'm cold. I'm irritable. I'm bored. These are just the feelings that run through the system. They have no meaning whatsoever. They have no permanence. They don't have hands. They can't grab and hold on to you. But we have been trained to push away certain feelings and cling to others. We've also been trained to push away our own natural inclinations. That same element that tries to suppress negative emotions is actually suppressing you. It's suppressing who you are. It's putting you in a war with yourself. It means your feelings are not acceptable. There's something wrong with you. This is the basic underlying belief of the fall, original sin, that nature itself, everything you feel is bad, sinful, and God hates you for it. What a horrific teaching. I just can't emphasize enough how just utterly inhumane and inhuman that is. And yet, so much of the world, hundreds of millions of people believe that to be the case and are in a constant battle with themselves, hoping that at sometime God is going to free them from their life and take them to this place where there's only these wonderful things. It's pure, it's innocent, and boring for eternity. Or he's going to punish you eternally if you don't. I mean, it's the cruelest possible scenario anyone could possibly come up with. It feels good to just let it go and just be. And in that center place that is in complete and total equanimity, that is the true God. Efe. Hello, Efe in Istanbul, Turkey. Wonderful. Sarah Sanders, is Nirguna non-duality because God is formless without attribute? It is sure that Saguna is duality because it's a worship of God like Krishna, and the goal is to worship at his feet. Yes, but if you substitute a personal God with the worship of consciousness itself, the worship of the formless, the attributeless, yet that which is, but is not anything in particular, the worshiping gets a new direction. To worship any form is idolatry. If any form is what it is that possesses these qualities, that's idolatry, because it's only an image through which the transcendent qualities are being seen, are being made manifest. Okay? So for the one who's worshiping a guru, right? There's nothing wrong with the worship. Right? It's just to allow the object of your worship to dissolve into the being that is your being, the very being that's closer than your own breath, into the true I am. Not I am Krishna, or I am Shiva, or I am this or that guru, just I am, full stop. Then you are worshiping at the feet of the master. You are worshiping at the feet of the true God, the true guru. And any real guru worth his salt will be constantly pointing you towards that, away from the personal, which is only temporary, to the impersonal, which is beyond. And many people feel a very fond adoration for their own gurus. And some actually deify the guru, thinking the guru, right, this great sage, which is this great enlightened being. The guru will accept that for a time, all the while making the adjustment, bringing their attention to go beyond the appearance of the guru to the pervasive immanence of the guru, the true guru, the Sadguru, the guru without form that permeates everything, including you. And then you disappear into the guru, which is the ultimate worship. I am no more. There is just God. Does that merge it together? It's kind of the stair step of taking the path of devotion until it merges with the path of Vedanta. And of course, then it returns to the realm of the heart and interaction as it embraces all beings. Positive Patty. Hi, G. Who is the author of the book I Am That? Nisargadatta Maharaj. And that was the very first book I ever read. Now, strictly speaking, he's not the author. These were transcriptions. He would just hold satsang twice a day at his house. And also sing bhajans. He'd do a lot of different things. But these satsangs, they started recording them. And after a while, more and more people were coming. There was always somebody there doing a translation into English because so many people were coming from the US and Europe. So they were translating it into English. So all those recordings got transcribed. And those transcriptions came out as the book, I Am That. And then there was like 4 or 5 after that, Prior to Consciousness, The Ultimate Medicine, some others as well that were smaller. The I Am That was pretty, and I Am That is what brought the whole world's attention to him. So yeah, officially the author, the one the words came from was Nisargadatta Maharaj. And it's a class. It's one of the best books ever written, and it is what introduced pure Vedanta to me. Adelson, I'm extremely emotional, and I grew up learning to not as a man, so I suffer a lot because I'm me. How do I learn self-love? I am. I tend to be a bit emotional myself. And for me, when I was young, a show of emotion was a show of weak. It was a way in which my disturbed mother, my mentally ill mother, would be able to nail me on something. She was very good at manipulating things like that. So I learned very early on how to manipulate, how to deceive, basically how to lie with a smile on my face, and to not betray my feelings. Right. And then early on in my spiritual development, I got the idea that somehow feelings are supposed to be transcended. Right. And so I fought with them. Right. Obviously, that's a fight you can't win because they're just there. They're a part of life. Right. That's like asking the wind not to blow. They probably tried to do that too. There's not a mistake that I haven't made. Slow learner, I guess. Anyway, what you do is you start reclaiming that territory. And it is the most manly and powerful thing you do. It's the most courageous thing you can do, is to let yourself feel those emotions. The thing that's restricting and the thing that teaches us, especially as men, is we're afraid they're going to overwhelm us. We're going to become feminized. We're going to become weak. We're going to become candy asses, right? And so there's this layer that we have to confront, that it's not true. And sometimes they will overwhelm you. There can be a lot of stuff inside you that have you weeping like a baby. I had several times when I wept like a baby for hours. One time in particular for 5 days, almost straight. But here's the thing. Here's a very subtle point, an important thing to remember, that we don't want to get lost in the emotions either. We want to free them, right? But we don't want to be a slave to them. We're a slave to them when we suppress them. We're a slave to them for always voicing them. The key is, I want to feel. I want to actually feel. Life is felt, not thought. Every everything we seek in life is what? The feeling of it. We don't seek better thoughts for the sake of having a better thought. It's because of the feeling behind it. Same thing with our relationships, our accomplishments. Everything is about the feeling of it, right? But there's something even deeper, because under those feelings, the ones we're not supposed to have, is the wounded part of us. Because the real message about that is not just you're not supposed to feel that, you're not supposed to be you. Underneath that is the reality of your being, who you actually are. Universally, as the absolute truth, and also individually in this particular life as Adelson, me as GP. That's it. That individuality is not lost in the discovery of the absolute. It's actually set free. We're allowed to feel because that's what we feel. Right? I feel it, so it's okay. It's obviously okay. So you start from the premise that every feeling is okay. There's no such thing as negative or positive. Those are arbitrary assessments of them that were laid on top of them by our tribe and our upbringing that said, this was okay to feel, this is not. You can be like this, but not like that. You shouldn't even feel that way. Why do you even feel that way? So your natural feelings become suppressed. You feel that way because that's the way you feel. Duh. So there's the whole idea of positive and negative emotions is nonsense. There's no such thing. There's only feelings. But because of the way we've been conditioned, we've been trained to accept some and reject others. This is okay. This is not okay. And we bring that into ourselves. So first, start from this point. Everything I feel is okay. And then recognize that you have been programmed to resist feeling. And so now you can stand back at another dimension of wisdom, recognizing that even the resistance you're feeling to feeling is also part of the programming. Seeing that, you can now just be enormously compassionate with yourself. You can even be don't try to fight the resistance. Don't try to get rid of it. It's only trying to protect you, right? It's just an overzealous friend. It wants to protect you from what it believes to be dangerous, namely your feelings. You just say, it's okay. It's okay. I can feel this. It's not going to kill me. There's nobody here to punish me now. It's all right. Let me feel this for a second. If it's really bad, you can suppress it again. Now notice, I've taken you out of the role of trying to suppress them or trying to get them back into this place of the peacemaker. This is what I call inner reconciliation. You are reconciling with all the different energies, including the energy of resistance, the energy that doesn't want to feel, the energy that's trying to push things away. Okay? That too is a natural function. And in the embracing of all this, you show up as the peacemaker, as this loving, accepting influence, and this is the self-love you're seeking, right? It's not a feeling. It's a position you take towards everything you're feeling. Both the emotions you know are there, but you don't have access to. The feeling of I shouldn't be feeling this, and the resistance that's trying to keep them suppressed. You're in the position of genuine self-love because you can look at all of those and go, I get it. All of those are here for a reason. There's no guilty party. There's no one to blame. There's no one responsible for this. This is just the way it got conditioned. But I am now standing in my true power. I'm standing in the place where I can create a very different environment. I don't have to get rid of the resistance. I don't have to liberate those emotions. All I have to do is create the safe space that I didn't have before that allows them to be, and they'll do the rest. It really is that easy. You are the creator of the inner environment. Other than that, you don't have to do a thing. You create a safe space. The energy system, which is designed to adapt to the environment, will adapt to it. The resistance will get lost. Why? Because there's nothing forcing it to resist. There's nothing there for it to resist anymore. So, okay. And it just begins to let go. The feelings come up. oh, nothing's resisting me. They come out. And you may feel overwhelmed at times. You may feel yourself absolutely bawling for no reason whatsoever. I was at one event with my EFT teacher, Carol Look. And it was very strange because those of you who know my story know that I had a very difficult childhood. The relationship, it was very tense. My mother was mentally ill and the like. So I'm at this EFT event, right? Learning EFT with Carol Look, who I just adore. She's really wonderful. She's become a friend. And so we're tapping on this thing, and she was talking about people being cut off from their parents, not feeling close to their parents, and everybody in the place is weeping the way she's doing this, about this disconnect. And I'm going like, what's, and the problem is I felt nothing, absolutely nothing. It's like, oh my God, so I'm so glad they're gone. Right? I do the whole tapping thing with it. I go through the whole process. I'm the only one in the room smiling. Everybody else is in tears. And I'm going like, right? Well, it goes on a little bit. Time goes on. And I even told her about this. She had a big laugh. I walk across the street. It's lunchtime. I walk across the street. I'm on my way, and there's a P.F. Chang's. So there I'm walking through the parking lot in P.F. Chang's, and all of a sudden, something just breaks open, and I start bawling my eyes out. I'm just absolutely beside myself, right? My meltdown in the parking lot of a P.F. Chang's. So you don't know you don't know when the stuff is going to come up, but it's just okay. When those emotions come up, they can come up with a vengeance and completely overwhelm you and just take over. It's okay. Let them. Don't resist. I didn't. I'm standing there. I mean, there were people looking. It was funny. And then I went in and I had the broccoli and tofu. It was very good. So I hope that helps, Addison. There's really just the general cultural stigma against men having feelings. And except we're allowed to cry at funerals. We're allowed to get angry. And we're allowed to cry if our girlfriend breaks up with us. Other than that, no. It's really true. It's really true. There's this weird idea of men, this hyper masculinity. But believe me, once you've gone through this part where the stuff is kind of purified, you'll find that there's this incredibly beautiful balance of emotion, and the range of emotion you'll be able to feel. And feeling that a range of emotion won't make you less masculine. It'll make you more masculine. You'll have more of that masculine power. Your full range of resources will be available to you. What a great question. Thank you for that, Madison. Love and light from Hope Wellington Marshall. What a great name. Wow. Positive Patty, is this correct? Both heaven and hell are only states of mind. The one you give attention to is the one you find yourself. Yeah, actually, I think the heaven and hell video went live this morning that I just did. So I did a video. Actually, it's an excerpt from last week's Satsang where this came up. Both heaven and hell are states of mind. And yes, on one level, giving your attention to one or the other will determine your experience. But the true place to get to is the place that is untouched by either. The truly transcendent place, right, is free of all opposites. It's beyond all categorizations. It is that which cannot be named. It is the Tao which cannot be spoken. Okay? And it has access to the full range of experience. Now, what makes something heaven or something hell? If I like it, it's heaven. If I don't like it, it's hell. So there's no such thing as heaven and hell is an absolute. There's no genuine hell. Hell is created by me saying, I don't like this. I want it to be different. That's it. That's all there is to hell, is my objection to what is here now. And my preference for what is here now, my attachment to what is here now, because I like the way it feels, that's all there is to heaven. So they don't exist as an absolute. They exist as a relative position, right? Now, if you recognize that and you step into this place where there's no attachment to good, to the good stuff, and there's no aversion to the bad, you find that the definitions good and bad fall away. They too are just made up. And again, they're just the preferences we happen to learn individually and culturally. There is no heaven. There is no hell. There's only life as it is. And true bliss, the true bliss of Satchitananda, the true Ananda, is the realization that you are the conscious center around it all, around which all of it orbits. And that is the place of perfect peace. The hub of the wheel doesn't move. It is in constant stillness. It is aware of the motion of the wheel. It is aware of all the activity. If you're at the end of the wheel, you're holding on for dear life, getting flung here and there. If you're at the center of the wheel, you're the unmoving peace, the unmoving quiet. This is the place I'm trying to bring you to. There's no heaven or hell. There's just pure bliss, pure stillness, pure silence, pure peace, pure contentment, pure being. This is the heaven beyond heaven. This is what Christ referred to as the kingdom of God, or the kingdom of heaven, which was within you. It's not a place. Popular mythology has made it into this place, this super place where there's all sorts of rewards, and hell is a place you're going to go. There's all sorts of punishments. It's really just a projection of the human mind about everything that it likes or doesn't like. That's all it is. The true heaven, the true essence behind it, is beyond heaven and hell. It is simply the self. It's what you are. So I'm forever pointing away from the mind's attachment to having things a certain way and thinking that when it gets it, then I'm going to be happy. Heaven's another word for happy, by the way. Perpetual happiness. But we'll never find that in the mind, because for the mind, it's always conditional. And so the mind seeks to do what the mind cannot actually do. Turn the impermanent permanent. You can't make the impermanent permanent. It's impossible. It's impermanent. Everything you accomplish will be lost. Everything you acquire will be lost. Everything will be lost. Now it feels like, oh my God, I got to hold on to it. But that's only a feeling. You have to hold on to it. What happens when this is lost? Something else is there. This is the nature of life. This is the cycle of life. And it's happening all the time. Satsang is the place where you harmonize with the way things actually are, and you let go of your attachments and your aversions. When you let go of attachment and aversion, you have let go of all suffering. And then the final step, let go of the sufferer. You find that the sufferer was just a bunch of thoughts. There's thinking, there's no thinker. There's doing, there's no doer. There's suffering, there's no sufferer. That's the end of suffering. As Buddha put it, there's a road, there's a walking on the road, but there's no traveler. Ponder this. Satsang is a place for us to take some bit, right? You don't even have to hear all of what I have to say. Some bit. If something strikes you, you chew on it, right? But just don't, chew on it. That this isn't a wine tasting, and spit it out, right? You're guzzling it down. You want to take it in. You want to digest it. Maybe it'll even give you a little indigestion because it might not be that easy to digest. But take it. When I read I Am That the first time, I was so blown away. I think it took close to 2 years for me to read it. Now, it's not a hard read, right? It's got a lot of pages, I don't know, 300 or 400 pages, but it's not a hard read. Very easy, broken up into sections and the like. But because I would read a couple of sentences or a paragraph at most, and I would just be stunned at what he said. And I would chew on it for 2 days. I just keep repeating it over and over until it lost, kind of that the thing that grabbed my attention so much. And then I'd read a little bit more. Oh, wow. And I just that's how I absorbed it. Right. Just a little at a time. So remember, you are the answer. I'm pointing you towards the answer. I'm not giving it to you. I can't. How can I give you the answer when you're the answer? You've already got it, right? So all I can do is take your finger and point it back here. Point here. Who is it that's listening? Who's hearing my words? Separate from the thoughts, separate from the conditioning, separate from the suppression, the repression, the history, the memories, the associations, the abstractions, all of the stuff that make up the various levels and categories of the mind. What is it that's watching mind? It's not mind, obviously. Mind is an activity of thought. It is the activity of thought. The one watching thought is not a thought. This is where I'm constantly pointing you back to yourself. Isn't it you? You unmixed with anything else. You without you. That's the way Muji puts it. You are there, but you're not there. It is the pure presence without a concept of presence. And it's here all the time. You're feeling it. You're swimming in it. Okay? It's permeating the body. You are permeating the body. This sense of yourself. Jay. I guess Ramakrishna Parahamsa was a devout worshiper of Kalyama. Supposedly, he had many visitors throughout his childhood, and when he was anointed as the priest at Kali temple, he attained the realization that Kali was the universal mother, and everything around him disappeared. In fact, he was about to end his life out of the frustration of not being able to see the truth. That's when it happened. Honestly, I think experiences like this is what leads to misinterpretation of what realization is. Yes, yes, it is. It broke through. In the language he used to describe it, right? The universal mother, right? The universal motherhood of the absolute. That's the experience of the absolute, not from the masculine yang, right? Or Vedanta, but from the feminine heart, right? The center, right? Which Ramana Maharshi used this term all the time. Right? The unknowable mother was the feminine was the mother of the gods, right? The mystery of the emptiness out of which everything came, which then gets personified as various kinds of things. And yeah, he was a worshiper of Kali. Papaji was a worshiper of Krishna. And under the guidance of Ramana Maharshi, he transcended the person of Krishna and his devotion into the transcendent principle, which Krishna as a character in history represented. Is all the gods are. All the gods and goddesses are in you. They're all you. They're all aspects of yourself that have been disowned, just like a bunch of feelings. God is a disowned voice. God is a metaphor for the self. All the gods are, be it, and Kali is beautiful because Kali is time and the timeless. She is the destroyer. She's the giver of life and the destroyer. She's got a skull in one hand and a bowl in another. The nourisher, right? The images of Kali, the bringer of death, which is of course the bringer of life. the transformation of from purely the instinctual life and the religious traditions that have arose out of that into the genuine spiritual existence. That's typified in the Kundalini model of the chakras, the bottom three representing the animal nature, the instinctual nature, which are concerned with what? Safety, reproduction, progeny, success, status, that sort of thing. When it rises to this level, which is the dead center of the entire thing, it's the level of the heart, where this gets transmuted into the higher level of creativity, of vision, and eventually transcendent wisdom. That's what that model really represents. And the snake coiled up the center is the image in the East. It's the image, the metaphor for resurrection, because it sheds its skin. You're dying to the instinctual life, you're dying to the ego, and you're awakening or being resurrected into spiritual life, into the truth of your being, into the reality. And this is what Kali represents. And Ramakrishna saw through that, saw beyond the person of Kali to the universal principle of Kali, and even beyond that, to the total emptiness out of which even the sense of creation had emerged, the absolute, right? Which doesn't even know itself because there's nothing to know. I love you, Jay. You're great. How's that boy of yours? Daryl, I love you, GP. I really do. Thank you so much. I love you too, man. Oh, where'd you go? I hate it when it jumps ahead. Razan, I have to watch the replay. Just coming in now. Late to Om School. Yeah, that's what I named my the classroom, the place I'm putting all of my my courses now, the Om School. Chuck Ash. This behavior based on superstition and just intense beliefs, his behavior based on habit, ritual, superstition, or just intense beliefs? Well, it's a really nice question. Thank you. There's really kind of a continuum, right? I mean, superstition is a belief, right? I believe in something, and I believe in it so much that it's governing the way I behave, right? And I believe in it so much that any evidence to the contrary that shows me conclusively it's not really true, it's not real, it's not a fact, I will reject simply out of the fear of not following through. So there's something more than just the belief of here, right? Because there's the beliefs up here, we all get them. But an intellectual belief or a conceptual belief, if there's a certain amount of intellectual honesty and curiosity, those can be questioned. One can accept contradictory evidence, look at it and go, oh, I see, and can let that belief go and come into a higher place. Now that requires a certain amount of intellectual courage and maybe even some training and critical reasoning and that sort of thing. There are many people who can't, right? And we experience them, racist, white supremacists, those who hate any kind of nationality or religion or anything. The people who believe the earth is only 6,000 years old. All the evidence to the contrary, it's like a superstition. What it is, it's a willful ignorance. It does not want to question itself. It's clinging to its beliefs because it thinks its beliefs are keeping it safe. The idea that the Bible is a historical book, which has been proven over and over and over and over again that it isn't. It's mythological. Most of it never even happened. They were mythical stories that were gathered together and put in order to make it look like there was actually a narrative, and there never was. It was a bunch of stories written thousands of years apart, right? But this belief then that this is a historical truth and setting out to prove that it's a historical proof when there's absolutely no evidence. But you've 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 based your life on it now. Your sense of identity, your sense of safety, everything, your life, your actions, your decisions, the man or woman you're married to, the job you do, have all come because you think this is absolutely true. Something comes along and challenges it. It takes courage to go, oh my God, everything I've been doing is bullshit. It's all a lie. No wonder I haven't been happy. And usually it takes a certain amount, maybe often a lot of suffering to crack that shell open. That is the ego in its tightest, and that's superstition. That's what a superstition is. But I always point to things that are even more fundamental than that. I call them energetic assumptions, which are kind of the essence of all the layers of belief that we adopt. And an energetic assumption is something in the nervous system itself. Early on, when we can't think, we can't reason, we can't even speak, your nervous system is already engaging with the environment to figure out what to do to get what it needs, what to avoid doing to avoid punishment. And so it's sorting through all this stuff, what's allowed, what isn't allowed, before you have anything to say about it. It figures out the best way to be in this particular environment. It adapts itself to that environment, and then it solidifies it into automatic responses. This is what we call our program responses or conditioning, right? Later on, that develops into a sense of identity. It's more conceptual, but this underlying layer of energetic assumptions is actually still there and still present and is influencing, if not directly controlling, thinking. So there's many, many different levels to it. Right? The good news is you can transcend all these levels all at once. You don't have to go digging into all of that. Because what I'm pointing at here in Satsang is this place from which it is all being viewed. And no matter how deep it is, when you realize that the reaction you are feeling is an energetic assumption and not you, you're in the driver's seat. You're eventually going to be able to transcend that, create a different inner environment. The nervous system is then going to drop that energetic assumption and create a new one to correspond to the new environment, a better one. And eventually it will drop all assumptions and become the utter servant of the reality of your being. When that happens, your life, the message, reality are all one. This is what a real sage is. Wisdom appearing in human form. The human form is now just the vehicle in the field of time, which is revealing the timeless. Thank you for that question. Wonderful. Effie, is the body no different than all the other objects witnessed? And if in this moment there's one event appearing in the sense of control of the body, and it's is the sense of control over the body and its actions part of the one event? Very good, Effie. Very good. Very perceptive. Yes. All of that. Yes. Well, look, isn't it just being witnessed? The thing is, when we think witness of an object, we think of object, this is an object, the candles behind me, they're objects. But a thought is an object. It's a subtle object, right? A feeling is, a sensation is a subtle object. So what is the body, right? The body is sensation. What do you experience? Do you ever experience a body, or do you experience sensation? We never experience a body. We experience sensation. The body is an assumption. It's this idea that there's some object out there that is producing the sensations. And we assume it. Nobody's ever seen one. We've only seen the sensations, no matter what they are, sight, hearing, touch, taste, smell. That's all we've ever experienced. So the idea of a body is a concept. And sensations are subtle objects. What's an object? An object is simply something that distinguishes itself from the background, right? So I say a word. It's distinguished. There's a series of sounds Silence on one end, silence on the other, right? And so it comes out from this background of silence, appears for a moment, and then goes back into it. A sensation is a distinct unit. I mean, some are so subtle that we don't have names for them, right? Like right now, put your attention at the bottom of your feet, and you'll notice, my God, there's a little tingling at the bottom of my feet. It's always there. We don't have a name for that. There's this tingle there. We don't have a name for that. It's so subtle, right? Also not all that important. So we don't have a name for it. But these things are there all the time, and yet they are distinct quantitative and qualitative objects. So that's an object. An object is just something coming out from the background that's separate from the background, so it stands out as a thing, right? Everything is like that, right? So as you're saying, there's this series of sensations, emotions, and thoughts going by. And the sense is the sense of control over the body and its actions part of the one event. Well, look at it. Isn't this desire to control the body or to control emotions? Is that too not an object? Isn't that just another subtle object? Another set of thought. There's this feeling of I want to, and there's the thought I want to, and maybe even the mind's going off now as to how to go about doing it. Are they not all recognized little units or objects? What's recognizing them? So from that perspective, the body is just another object. Now, the conceptual object of the body is this thing in space-time that is physical senses interacting with a physical universe. And that's what's causing what we experience in our cognitive ability as sensation. If you look, you will discover you know sensation, you don't know body. So from our actual experience, the real experience you're having right now, you have sensation, you don't have a body. Sensation without a body. Sensation as a modulation of consciousness, nothing more. Like a dream at night. You have a dream, you have a body, you have sensations. There's nobody there causing those sensations. There's no body feeling them. They are completely subjective experience. There's sensation, seeing, sight, touch, all of it, but no body. That's the actual reality in the waking state. Now, if that's the case, then the word sensation is a misnomer. There are no sensations. There are only perceptions. And now you've taken a step up in what Buddha referred to as the five skandhas: form, sensation, perception, objects of mind, and consciousness. Now it's just perception. There's no body, there's no sensation. There's just, I'm perceiving. And perceiving is this the source? Well, what am I perceiving? You step up into objects of mind. I'll leave it at that, but I think you get the picture. So you're right on the money. If I can perceive it, it's an object. And if I can perceive it, it can't be me. Because I'm the perceiver. And I'm not an object that can be perceived. I cannot stand aloof from myself, look back and go, there I am. Can't do it. I'll always be there. I am imperceivable. I am the absolute imperceivable Tao that cannot be spoken. It is not a state. It is you. It is the reality. It is the self. It is the I am. I smile and laugh at this all the time. Alessandra, hello to you too. Mary, thank you for talking about the true God. Yes, I know that means a lot to you. Having been one that was immersed in the whole fundamentalist Christian thing, from which you freed yourself. The exodus out of Egypt. Faith, dear G, as you said last time, and yes, I feel the smell of ego, and I've seen his patterns. I was attached to a desire to move from here to be safe and free. I surrendered it. Now I'm willing to surrender the ego altogether. I'm a romantic person who, as you said, heart-centered person. How do I do that? I've set the attention for that as I want to unify with the beloved. Just cherish that desire. That desire to unify, to become one with the beloved, to become one with God, to become one with the truth. That desire is coming from God. You didn't make it up, love. You didn't create that. It is pure grace. That is God calling you back to herself. Cherish that desire. See it for what it really is. The desire to be free of the ego and reunite with your true being is coming from true being. Look, it couldn't come from ego. Ego isn't saying, yeah, I really want to get rid of me and get back to God. The ego can't say that, can it? Right? So who you really are is the voice calling you back. The desire is just how you're perceiving it in this moment. Right? And this desire is prayer. This is your prayer. Cherish this desire. Give that desire back to where it came from. Really fan it. Lord, replace me with you. Purge me of ego and unite me with you until there's no more me. All you can do is cherish that. You can't make it happen, right? True seeking is not a process that ends in the reward of enlightenment. Enlightenment is uncaused. If it was caused, it would have an end, right? This is simply the way it is. If it had a beginning, it would have an end. So enlightenment, that is awakening, what you actually are, must be here right now. It's not being seen simply because of our identification and focus of attention on the mind and all of its objects. The willingness to surrender, even when you can't do it, right, is the most auspicious place of grace to be. Lord, I don't even know how to surrender. I need to surrender the I. How can the I surrender itself? It can't. There's something much deeper in you calling you back. As Ibn Balyani says, no one knows him except himself. No one sees him except himself. No one reaches him except himself. He sees himself through himself. He reaches himself by means of himself. No one but he knows him. It is God that is the source and fulfillment of this desire. It is God that is seeking. It is God that will know. The I that is surrendering is actually the I that is being surrendered. By who? By no one. By the real you, which is this infinite being, infinite emptiness, infinite spaciousness. Oh, I just love the feeling I'm getting from you. This is the true bhakti. This is the true devotion. Lord, replace me with you. That is a prayer that cannot help but be answered. Be patient and let that desire do its work, which will purge from the system, purge from that sense of I, everything unlike God. And you'll find what remains is God. And it's been God all along. Oh, Thank you, dear lady. Sarah, I've been reading a lot of traditional bhakti texts, and I sense that Nirguna Bhakti might a way to progressive Vedanta. Okay. I know you said don't do that. Don't seek a way to progress. This isn't about progress. You cannot progress. How do you progress into what you already are? Right now, I want you to get up and walk over to yourself. How do you do that? This is a heartfelt recognition of what has always been true. And for that recognition to take place, you step out of the mind and into the heart. That's the value of bhakti, but also the value of Vedanta. It's both. It's this merging of heart and mind, to both mind and heart disappear into the oneness. Russell, hi GP and all from Durban. Hello, Russell. Jay. Swami Vivekananda once cried funeral of someone he knew, and a bystander who knew Swamiji was astonished at that and asked him why he was crying. Swami told him it was the duty of his senses, and he allowed them to do what they needed to do. Not the exact words, but there's a lot of these stories that stuck with me that now make sense. Yes, yes. Yeah, to just feel your humanity. Somebody close to you is lost. What do? You cry. It's the natural thing to do. It's the way the body adjusts itself to the new environment, which it has to do. It has to let go and allow itself to adapt to this new environment that no longer contains that. It's how we realign ourselves after an irrecoverable loss by accepting the reality of the irrecoverable loss. So Sarah says, hey Jay, this week I'm going to read Vivekananda's take on bhakti. Becca, I just got home and into myself. Figuratively? I mean, like you just like felt you came home inside, or you just got home. I think you mean you just got home. Something inside just kind of, I'm it. I'm it. This is it. Susan LaMonica. Hello, Susan. Hello from a New York snow globe. Thank you. I like snow globes. I still do, even though they're cheesy. Enlightened Network says, thank you, GP. Oh, you're so welcome. You're welcome. Yasmin. No matter what state of mind I'm in, once I come here, you manage to point me home and I become calm. Perfect. Perfect. The only thing I want to add to that is that you're always home, right? And with just a little bit of pointing, a little bit of effort, you'll find that satsang is always available. I'm always available. You know, this welcome home is always available, right? And you'll find yourself, you just won't be, that feeling of departing from it and coming back will lessen and just kind of float into this spacious permanence, which is what we call now, that this right now. In the meantime, I will be here every week to bring you back. But I always like to point that out. It actually doesn't depend on me. Right? I just have the wonderful privilege of being able to sit here at home and saying, come on home. And it is a wonderful, wonderful privilege. Jay says, both boys are doing great. It's fun to see their wild imagination take off. Reminds me of my childhood. Jay was in one of my class. It was a retreat. Yeah, it was the retreat I did. And he attended one of the retreats from the hospital where his son had just been born. We all got to look at him. It was really wonderful. Did I miss something from Jill yet? Oh, you. Or you just realized there never was a you, says Jill Kelly. Was there something earlier that I missed? Sorry if I did. Oh, yeah, I'm in Kelly. Yes. Mike, new to your channel. Thank you for the messages. Been watching your videos. Is all matter or from light? Or form light? Well, even light is a very subtle form of matter. What matter is a concept. It's a concept that what we experience exists independently from me. That there's a universe here, there's me here, there's the perceptual mechanisms of the senses, perceiving an object that exists completely separately from me, containing attributes that exist completely separate from me. In other words, this is a self, this is an entity, and I'm an entity, two separate entities, and I'm perceiving it. Now that's the Western model. That's the classical analysis, comes 3,000 years old, comes from the Greek. Modern science and everything is based on it. And it was the Greek who invented the word matter. Because if it exists separate from me, what's it made of? Right? Well, it's made, and whatever that is, they gave the name matter. And then classical analysis was, well, if I'm going to figure out what this is, I just take it apart, keep taking it apart until I finally get to the irreducible thing that, and that's what it's made of. This is what it is, this irreducible thing. That irreducible thing is what they call the atom, right? The atom, the atom, the tiniest structure. Well, the atom turned out not to be the tiniest structure, and we've kept on going to the point where it's all completely disappeared. There is no matter per se. It's just this strange phenomena that appears to be coming out of space itself. Now, let's go all the way back 3,000 years. The assumption was that what I'm perceiving exists independently from me. Well, that's not the thread of Vedanta that starts all the way prior to the Upanishads, goes through the Upanishads, the Vedas, all of it, and the Vedas were first. And it's been this thread that says that's actually not true. That the substance of what I am perceiving is my perceiving of it. That the knowing of the thing and the thing are one. From that point of view, consciousness is the substance of the universe, and there is no matter. It's a concept based on the assumption that what I am perceiving has an independent existence from me. This is what Buddha referred to as when he said, there is no self. No object has any kind of self or attributes or anything that belongs to a self. That all of those attributes are projections of the mind, and that all of those qualities are actually in the perceiver. The universe isn't matter. There is no matter. Now, over time, our understanding has become increasingly more subtle. Right? So we know it's not atoms. Atoms are made of something, and they're made of something, and we get to this quantum level, and then suddenly it's like space itself modulating into these things. It's gotten subtler and subtler. And in the popular view of things, it's like all is light, all is energy. Well, these two are both concepts, because if there is no matter, then what is light? Light is a metaphorical representation of consciousness. It's consciousness in which everything can be seen. From a material perspective, if there's no light, I don't see anything, right? Okay. Also, from the same point of view, when you're looking at it from consciousness, there's no consciousness, I don't see anything. Without consciousness, I don't exist, right? So consciousness and existence are one. And this is the, and there's plenty of scientists now, some even which being willing to admit it, that have said, you know what? Consciousness is not a function of the brain body. It is something else altogether. Now, they haven't gotten to the place where those of us have that says there is no matter at all. It's all consciousness. Consciousness knows it. It appears to consciousness, in consciousness, and is made of consciousness. Consciousness is the substance. It is simply not conscious of a material universe. There is no material universe. It is all consciousness aware of itself. And in fact, with just a little bit of exploration, you'll see that that is actually your experience. You cannot verify the existence of matter because you must be perceiving it from the point of view of your consciousness. You cannot step outside of your own perception. Therefore, why in the world do we believe that what we're perceiving exists outside of it? Nobody's ever seen it exist outside of perception. Nobody could. And you'll see that matter is an assumption, a metaphysical assumption, not a fact. In fact, that's exactly how the Dalai Lama referred to it, that matter is a metaphysical belief and not a fact, not a scientific fact. It's assumed. And the third of the bodhisattva practices that Buddha gave was perceiving the non-existence of external existence. And unfortunately, our modern spirituality, religion, and even the New Age stuff, it's kind of trying to spiritualize energy, but it still has this physical universe. The law of attraction is this universe bringing things to me, that now I could just get the right energy happening, and it's more esoteric and like, but it's still wrong. It's still external. There's still this belief now, okay, it's not a thing anymore, it's energy, but it's still external to me. There is nothing external to consciousness. How could there be? How would you know it? You know nothing but consciousness. That is in the totality of our experience. All right, enough of that. Where do we go here? Ivan from Bulgaria. Hi, Ivan. Very nice video quality. Thank you. Yep, brand new lens. Brand new lens. And I'm really liking it. Much better lens that allows for the effect, the blur background and that sort of stuff. Looks very professional, don't you think? I'm so, I love being professional. Awareness. Thanks for allowing yourself to be vulnerable with talking about your struggles. I really appreciate teachers who do that. Yeah, well, if I pretend I didn't have any, I couldn't be much of a teacher to you, could I? I didn't have any struggles. Everything was just fine. What's the problem? I wouldn't be much of a teacher. David and Elaine, lovely to hear, Jay. You're always young at heart. I'm into that. Susan, after satsang a couple of weeks ago, I stopped trying. Stopped trying to improve spiritually. Stopped trying to improve habits. Stopped tackling to-do list. To my surprise, the world has not fallen apart. It doesn't need me to do anything. I seem to not be the doer anymore. Isn't it wonderful? Your life is the done. There is no doer. You are life and the witness of life. You are the honey and you get to taste the honey. You're discovering in your heart and in your body and in your life that you are the witness of life. You are not the doer of life. There is no doer of life. The doer of life is an imagined thing in the mind. Nothing has a doer. Everything is just happening. What a relief, huh? What an utter relief. The world is not going to fall apart if I don't do something. I'm not going to die. Babies are not going to be killed. People will still fall in love. The birds will still chirp. My God, the universe doesn't depend on me. I don't have to visualize till the veins pop out of my neck. I can just leave the whole damn thing alone. It's fine just the way it is. It's such a relief. Hey, G. Namaskaram. Namaskaram, you monk. Wow, look at that. I finished 2 hours right on the nose. So I think I will, I'll bring it to a close here. I was so happy to be with you guys today. Yeah, glad you like the new set that I'm working with. Actually get through the only window I have in the place, out of the atrium behind. So I got the trees, and it's a very nice setting. So I want to thank you all for being here with me, and I want to thank you for all the support you've been given. I've gotten a few new patrons on Patreon, and it's been delightful to see people reaching out to support the support of the Enlightened World Network, which is now carrying this. I've got some other groups of people who really want to help in getting this message out there. It's just really, really gratifying to see. Yeah. Thank you, G. Wonderful satsang. Grateful to be here. Me too. If there's a doer, it's life. Yes. Life isn't a doer. Yeah, there's no personal doer. There's just this wonderful, wonderful flow. Simdive says, thank you so much. Thank you from Susan, from Jay, from everyone. Thank you all, dear ones. I love you. Namaste.